It'll basically calculate it for you automatically. Once you bring up your account online, there's going to be a box in the bottom right-hand corner, okay? And on that box is going to be the milestones tool. There's going to be a bar chart there. Once you put in the information, it's going to save it right there in that bar chart, okay? And on that bar chart, it's going to say this is how much you need every month in retirement, all right? And based on your current savings rates, it'll tell you if you're not saving enough, if you have a shortfall, or if you're saving too much, all right? Out of all the years I've been doing this, when I talk to people that have retired, I've never heard anybody say, what am I going to do with all this money, all right? So it doesn't work, all right? It doesn't work that way. Yeah, so the important thing is to save as much as you can and as soon as you can, all right? And, you know, what are some of the reasons why you might not, you may only need, let's say, 80% of what you're making today? You know, what are some of those reasons?
Don't have a mortgage anymore.
Don't have a mortgage anymore.
Move out of DC area.
Move out of the DC area, exactly. Lower cost of living.
You're not saving and investing any
rate.
longer.
Yep, you're not saving for your retirement anymore. That's an expense. What about kids? Maybe they're out of the house.
Yeah, they're going to start paying for me.
Yeah, maybe they're out of the house. Maybe you pushed them out of the house. All right. So why might you need 100% or more of your income now every year in retirement? Yeah. Okay.
I was going to say deadbeat kids.
Yeah, what about the kids you pushed out of the house? Guess what? They came back. And guess what? They have kids.
They brought their kids.
Yeah, exactly. So you have this new whole family to support. And what about what about healthcare costs? Are they going up or down? All right, and taxes, do we know what they're going to be doing in 20, 30 years from now?
All right. They're consistently
Yeah. Exactly. So, and who wants to travel when they retire? Who wants to travel tomorrow? Yeah, always get more hands at that. So, you know, the other thing that you need to think about is living longer in retirement. You have to think about living at least 30 years or a 30-year life in retirement. So if you think that you're going to be, let's say you're retiring, your golden age is 65, you have to think about living until your age 95, all right? Now, I was actually reading an article the other day, and in that article, it said that there's actually over 100,000 people in America over the age of 100, all right? And since I'm originally from Florida, I think 99,000 are down there. And driving. Right. So those are some of the assumptions you want to think about when you're going through this milestones tool online. You know, think about all those assumptions, how much you're living off of today compared to how much you're going to need when you retire. All right.
Does that take into account other like funds, like we have previous employers and rolled them over to something else? Can you input, I've got a Vanguard fund from a previous employer and I rolled over that 401k. Does it know that there's some money elsewhere?
What you can do is there is some assumptions. You can say, okay, I have an IRA account somewhere else, a Roth IRA, you have other 401k accounts. You can put in the balances of those accounts. And then those balances, it'll be taken into the assumptions, whether it's like a 6 or 7% rate of return over a 20, 30-year period or whatnot. So yes, you can do that. Okay. It's not going to pull in that exact fund in the returns, but you can just put in the balances. All right. The other thing is that, what about Social Security? Is that going to be there when we retire? Exactly. So, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. We're pretty positive that it will be there in some form or fashion, but we know that something needs to change within the system. Just for instance, back in 1950, there was actually 16 workers putting into Social Security for every one person taking it out. Now that number's gone all the way down to 3.3 people putting in for every one person taking it out. And another 20, 30 years from now, it's going to be 2 to 1. So I'm sure everybody's heard of the baby boomer age. There's tens of millions of baby boomers, like 3,000 every day, retiring over the next 10 to 15 years that are going to be drawing from the system. All right. So what does that mean for you? Will Social Security be there? Well, there's changes that need to be made. What are some of the changes? They're increasing your age to collect your full benefit. All right. It used to be 65. They increased it to 66. Now it's 67. By the time a lot of us in this room retire, they may have increased that age to 70, 72, or 75. Also, something else that they're changing is that, does everybody receive their Social Security statements every year? Well, you may not need more because they're not mailing them out. They're trying to save money, so you can go to the Social Security website and look at them. But you see that fine print at the bottom. This is what you might receive when you retire. Okay?
The other fine print that says Social Security will be bankrupt by 2037.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, you know, there's a lot of things you need to think about, but the moral of the story is you don't want to rely on Social Security to supplement your retirement plan income. It was really only intended to supplement maybe 30% of your total retirement plan income, okay? It wasn't there to supplement 100% of your income, all right? Any questions so far? All right, good. Let's talk about some of the key benefits of your plan. One is the pre-tax savings. I'm sure we've all heard of that. Your 401k plan. Every dollar that you earn now, after taxes are taken out, you may only receive 75 cents on that dollar, right? Well, in the 401k plan, that dollar that you earn, you can put the whole dollar into the 401k plan before taxes are taken out, okay? So that whole dollar is working for you right now. Now, what that means is that money's going to grow and grow and grow. When you decide to take that money out, that's when you're going to be paying taxes on the money, okay? Once you retire and you start taking it out. Now, you do have another option on your plan, okay? That is kind of like the exact opposite of a regular 401k, and that's called a Roth 401k. Has everybody heard of Roth before? This is the exact opposite of a regular. Regular, it's pre-tax savings. Roth, that dollar you put in there today, it's going to be after taxes are taken out. But the beauty of that is that that dollar you put in, it's going to grow and grow and grow. And guess what? Once you retire and start taking the money out, it's going to be completely tax-free. Okay? So do we know what tax brackets are going to be doing 20, 30 years from now? Probably not.
But the assumption that a lot of people are working under is that I'll make more money when I'm working than I will when I'm not working, right? When I'm retired. So maybe if I make 100K today, right, because I have all these bills to pay, when I'm retired, I might need half of that because I won't have all these bills to pay. So if you're only drawing 50K when you're retired, you're now taxed at that 50K income bracket. So that's the assumption that people are working on. The problem is you don't know what's going to happen in 30 years, 40 years, those tax rates.
That's the challenging part, is the tax rates, because you're right to assume that your income will, relatively speaking, in all likelihood be lower in retirement, but the other X factor is what are tax brackets, because even if your income is lower, your tax rate still might be higher. So generally speaking, you know, the room is pretty young, and so you want to at least consider, at least in my opinion, contributing a portion of your income on a post-tax basis using the Roth 401k within the plan. It at least allows you to hedge your bet, so that in retirement you can have the opportunity to do a little bit of both. You know, in a high-tax environment or a high-tax administration, you can draw from your tax-free money. Whereas in a low-tax administration, you could draw from your taxable money. But if you do both, you at least have the opportunity to take advantage of both. And the reality is that no one knows what it's going to be like 20 or 30 years from now, either from an income standpoint or from a tax standpoint. So if you have that available to you, I think it's a good option to take advantage of.
Yeah, it's kind of like you think about diversifying your investments. It's kind of like diversifying your tax situation. Once you retire, you're going to pull a little bit out that's going to be taxable. Some of it's going to be tax-free. Now, one thing I can say is that whatever you put it, if let's say you decided that the Roth is good for you, you put money into the Roth 401k, any contributions that your employer makes, it goes into the regular 401k. Okay? Make sense?
Are there contribution limits?
There are contribution limits. For this year, the most you can put into your 401k plan is $17,000, and that's regardless of whether you put it in the Roth or regular, or you split it 8,500 both ways. Yeah, 8,500 or however much you want to do. Now, I don't see too many older folks in here. They're over 50, but if you're over 50, you can put in another 5,500. It's called a catch-up contribution. All right.
So the Roth is a part of that 17 then?
It is part of the 17.
Even though you've already paid taxes on it?
Even if you've already paid tax on it, yeah.
I gotta find a suggestion boxes.
I bet the IRS gets very few of those.
Well, the nice thing about having a Roth 401k option, you know, we say if you're in a lower tax bracket today, you're a younger employee, you have a lot of time until you retire, you're probably going to be in a higher tax bracket later. That's when a Roth makes sense for you, okay? Now, if you're closer to retirement, a Roth may not make sense. You may be in a higher tax bracket today. You want to take advantage of the pre-tax savings today, you can do that. We have a great tool on our website, another one under the Planning Center tab, where it shows if it's going to be beneficial for you to do a Roth or a regular or both. Okay, so it's another tool. Yes?
So for the Roth IRA, are there limitations
Yeah, for the 401k plan, it's all calendar year, so it's going to be December 31st. In the IRA world, you have until tax filing deadline, April 15th, to contribute to the year before. So the other good thing about the Roth 401k is that there are no income limits for you to be able to put money into it, okay? In the Roth IRA world, there are income limits. If you make, let's say, over 100,000 and you're single, you can't put money into a Roth IRA. Okay, if you're married filing jointly, you make over, let's say, 170,000, you can't put money into a Roth IRA. In the Roth 401k world, there's no income limits. You can make $1 million and put money into the Roth 401k. All right.
Now, are there contribution limits then between the 401k and the IRA, doing both?
Yeah. Well, you can max out your 401k at 17,000. You can always max out your IRA at 5,000. Now, whether that money is deductible or not deductible, depending on your income situation, you may or may not be able to.
Well, doing it into a Roth, you wouldn't be worrying about whether it is deductible.
As long as you meet the income requirements, you can max out a Roth 401k as well as a Roth IRA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the Roth 401k, also when you take out the money during retirement, you don't have to pay tax on the earned interest.
Yeah, you don't have to pay taxes on anything that you put in or any of the growth or earnings on that money. It's completely
So
tax-free.
even if you're at a higher tax bracket now and a lower tax bracket, then you may have more money that you're taking out.
Yeah.
And then, so it's, even though it would be more money.
Yeah,
so-
but what people do to take advantage of the Roth, and I know a lot of you probably aren't thinking about this now. Let's say you have a bucket over here of taxable retirement money, you have a bucket over here of tax-free money. Well, if you're in a low tax bracket, you have a low income, you don't need to, live off as much. You just take money out of the taxable amount, leave the tax-free one there. All right, you start taking that. So basically, what happens is that, something happens to you, heaven forbid, your money is passed on a tax-free basis over your beneficiaries. They take the money out tax-free. So, I mean, it could just keep growing and growing and growing. You wouldn't even need to access it. It just depends. All right. All right, the other big benefit on your plan is your company's match, okay? Your company matches dollar for dollar up to 4% of your salary, all right? So you put in 4%, they're gonna put in 4%. You put in 10%, they're still gonna put in 4%, all right? So if you can, I think we're all pretty much well-educated people in here, in this room, for the most part. Put in at least the 4%, you get the 4% match, okay? If you can do more, great. And like Ben was saying, you're just starting off, you probably need somewhere between 10 and 12. If you're kind of like in the middle of your career, it's going to be more or less probably like 12 to 16 range. All right. Is there a question over here? Okay. All right. All right. Any questions so far? All right. Good.
Wait, what is that 4% of?
4% of your salary?
Not the contribution.
Yeah, so if you put in 4% of your salary every pay period, they're going to put in 4% for you also. And also, on top of that, the money that is matched, the money that you put in, the money that's matched, it is immediately vested. So what that means is that if, let's say you leave the company tomorrow, you can take your money with you and all the company's money with you immediately.
I thought the booklet said it was a 3-year vesting period, unless I'm mistaken.
So 3-year vesting period if there is profit sharing contribution. So there's probably 2 different vesting schedules in there. One's immediate, but the other one is 3-year if there is ever a profit sharing contribution in the plan, which you don't have right now. Yes?
So if you max it out on your own, then you can't really take advantage of the match.
Yeah, the 17,000, that does not include the company's match.
Oh, it doesn't?
Yeah, so technically you put in 17, maybe you're getting 5,000 from the company. So your total contribution is going to be 22,000. You can only put in 17. It doesn't include the company's match. Is there another question over here?
That was my question.
Okay, all right.
And you were also saying, though, that let's assume I want to put 4%. I could do my 4% into the Roth 401k, but the company match is going to go into the traditional.
Exactly. Because that's their way to kind of expense it and take it.
Sure.
So, all right. All right, well, let's talk about the two different ways you can invest your money, two different kind of like investment options. And if you turn to page 7 here, there is, you see here the two different columns, do it for me or do it myself, all right? The do it for me, again, just like Ben and I talked about previously, these are going to be the target date funds, already managed for you. If you don't like doing a lot of research, you don't like picking and choosing your own investments, you don't have the time, energy, and resources to do that, the do it for me, the target date fund is a good option for you. Okay, it's completely managed for you, it's diversified, it's got maybe 15 to 20 different mutual funds in every portfolio, okay? And just to kind of break it down a little bit more, if you flip over to page 11, a couple pages, here are the different portfolios, and based on your age or when you're going to turn 65, that would be the portfolio that you have. You can see all the different colors of the pieces of the pie there. That's how these are going to be allocated. All right. The other way is if you want, you can pick and choose your own investments. That's the do-it-myself way. All right. We also give you some tools and resources in the book if you want to do that. If you like picking and choosing, doing all of your own research on the investments, looking at performance, expenses, or whatnot. If you go over to page 8 and 9, there's a little investor profile quiz here. All right. It's a little 8-question quiz. It's based on a point system. You tally up all the points, and then it drives you into a certain asset allocation model. From that model, then you pick and choose the investments from what are available to you. So somebody give me a number between 1 and 100. 75? Okay, let's say 75. If you flip over to page 12 and 13, for instance, you're going to see a chart in the bottom left-hand corner there on page 13. And if you said 75, you see the ranges off to the left, and then you see the years of retirement on the top. So you see, I'm just guessing you're more than 16 years from retiring.
A little bit.
All right. So if you go all the way to the right, that would be profile 4. All right. If you look over to the profiles, you see there are 5 profiles there. You see profile 4. This would be the moderate aggressive strategy. From here, this is where you look at the investments in your plan and you pick and choose based on this, and you can basically have an asset allocation for yourself.
Helps you build your own portfolio with a little bit of guidance.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The nice thing is that one other way to do the research on the investments, if you flip over to page 35 in the book, this is the beginning, and for the next 10 pages or so, it's going to provide you a list of all the investment options. You see the different colors along the top. There's different colors as you flip through the book. You see green, you see orange or whatnot. It's matched up with the colors of that asset allocated portfolio. All right. So pretty kind of easy enough, unless you're colorblind. You need some assistance. All right. So yeah, we've got that question before. So it's all color coordinated, but this is one way to do the research. On every investment here, it's going to give you the 1, 3, 5, 10-year returns since inception. It also, there's a box on every investment at the bottom. It says fees and expenses. It shows you exactly what the expense ratio of each fund is. All right? And on top of that, we are also required to now show you, based on that expense ratio, if you had $1,000 invested in that fund, this is what it would equate to. So for instance, this investment expense on page 35 is 1.14%. You see that? Well, if you had $1,000 in that,